When and how do you pot on cuttings? Today I'm going to show you. G'day there, I'm Dana from Pewalkuka Valley Homestead. A little while ago I showed you exactly how I go about taking cuttings and propagating new plants from them, and a lot of them have sprouted new roots, so I'm going to show you how you know when it's time to pot them on and what you need to do to make sure that they get the best start in life. So this is my propagation table. I'm sure you've met it before, and hiding underneath all this plastic is a whole bunch of cuttings, and some of these have taken root. Some of them are newer, some of them have just straight up died, which is fine too. And I thought I'll show you down here. We've also got a whole bunch of them that have all rooted already, and I've got them just sitting in my tunnel house ready to be potted up. So some of these ones, like this one here, has done really well. It's got a good root. This one here, on the other hand, something's bumped it and it has not worked. It did have some roots, but it's died. We'll just throw it away. So this one here will need potted up. When you are growing things from cuttings, you grow them in this nutrientless, basically rocks. So it gets to the point where your plants actually need some nutrients, and that's when you need to put them into some soil. Sometimes with some plants, especially things that go dormant over winter, it can be disappointing to get cuttings from them because they look like they've flushed out with leaves, but actually they've not grown roots. What they've done is use the sap energy that they already have to throw out the buds that they've already got. So sometimes it can be really exciting. You see these new plants and they've got all these buds, and then after a few weeks they just kind of die back down to nothing. And the problem is that they've exhausted their sap, but they haven't actually built any roots. And I think that might be what's happened with this green gage plant over here. It grew lots of leaves, but when you pull them out, and it sort of died back, and when you pull them out there's no roots there to be seen. When you're potting up your cuttings, you really need to make sure that they're going into a nice, moist, nutrient-rich potting mix. I prefer to use one of the organic brands that we've got, but you can use whichever. Don't put them straight. I learnt this problem last year. Don't put them straight into a wood-based compost. Don't be super stingy. Pay the extra couple bucks a bag and get the potting mix rather than the compost. The compost is just not well enough dissolved, and the wood that's still left in it will suck too much nitrogen away from these baby plants, and they will suffer and quite possibly die. I had a big problem with that last year. The quick release nitrogen that was in the compost mix worked really well, and then when it ran out, unfortunately they all died. So this year we're putting them straight into a proper potting mix, which should in theory do a lot better for them. So I'm going to set myself up and then I will get back into it. You might think I'm a little crazy. I'm actually sitting on the floor in the tunnel house so I can be doing this, but it's out of the wind and it's away from the dogs, and it's nice and quiet in here, so on the ground in the tunnel house it is. Now the first thing I'm going to start doing is potting up some of these elderberries. When you propagate things, often you'll put more than one cutting into a pot, and you'll find, well, this one here, I think it got too hot in here and they sort of dried out. So that one there I think is probably a goner, despite the fact it's got quite a lot of root system on there. I think it dehydrated too much and its leaves have just dried up, which is a bit of a shame. I'm not going to give up on it completely. What I'm going to do is I will put it in a pot and just give it a lot of water, and we'll see if it takes, but I'm not going to put it in this one. And if we pull these others out, this propagation medium I'm going to reuse, so I'm going to tip it into another container so I can reuse it. I'm being lazy and seeing what I can reach from sitting down. I'm going to have to get up and get the tray. Right, for demonstration purposes, I'm going to sacrifice this one container of stuff so that it'll just sprinkle on the floor. You can see here just how much of a root system these branches have put out very quickly. So propagating elderberry from cutting straight into propagating medium is really, really easy. They grow really rapidly and very readily. So all I've done is put some potting mix in the bottom, carefully laying out those new roots, being very gentle with them, and then topping it up with some soil. If there were leaves down the bottom of here, I'd try not to cover those up. And because it's quite clearly an elderberry, I'm not actually going to mark it, but ordinarily you'd want to pop a tag in there as well. And then I'm going to sit it in a tray of water so it can just soak the water up without disturbing the roots too much. And we'll just do the same with each of these. The good thing about elderberry is if you bury some more of the stick, it's actually going to grow more roots out the stick. Because they grow like weeds here. That one's a bit broken. I am shaking most of the propagation medium off because it's got no nutrients in it. We might as well put these roots up against something that's going to be good for them. And when you're doing this, try and center the plant in the middle of the pot. This will help ensure even growth of the root system around the outside, and it will make it easier and more stable later on when you go to plant it out. Now, so we're going to do the exact same thing. This propagation medium I'm just going to tip back into the bin, and I can use that. I'm not going to keep it if any of the plants rotted out because it might be infected with a rot, but any of the ones that have grown really well, I'm actually just going to reuse it. I'll give it a good rinse and reuse it. It means I can reuse these pots too. Now, where did I put that plant? Here it is. You can see how much smaller its root system is compared to the other ones. So it might just be a failed cutting. But I'm going to stick it in here, give it the benefit of the doubt. I'm not losing anything by doing so, except a couple of scoops of potting mix and 2 seconds of time. So let's have a look. All of these cuttings were put in at the same time. That was the elderberry. They're probably the best, probably going to have the best root system on them. This is some gooseberry. And so this is, I'm pretty sure it's been 6 weeks. It might only be 4 weeks. I will check and I'll try and put that on the screen. You can see there it's got quite a decent root system as well. So from 6 sticks, I've got 6 gooseberry plants. And I just was looking today, I want to do the exact same thing for my Worcesterberry, which is almost the same but a little bit of a different plant. So I'll be putting those up as well. These are some figs, and so they've had the same problem. I don't know what happened there. It's grown some roots, so I think maybe it just got really hot in here in the tunnel house yesterday, and they've sort of dehydrated. That one, you can see the callus on the bottom here. It's got a little bit of root stuff happening. I'm not sure if I'll bother potting that one up. We'll see what sort of roots the others have. There, that's much better. So it's probably worth keeping the ones with the really good root system, and the ones without such good root systems, I mean, you can pot them up, but they may not thrive as well. I'm going to get rid of the one with no obvious roots, and the one with little roots, I'm going to plant it, but we'll see how it goes. Now, if it was hot and sunny today, I wouldn't be leaving these roots exposed. You don't want them drying out, so I'm going to plant those really shortly. Ideally, roots would always be kept covered and kept damp. Now, this is a plant, I don't even know what it is. It grows on the deck at my parents' place that they've just sold. So I took a few cuttings and one of them took. And you can usually tell if something's got roots by when you give it a pull. It sort of moves the entire medium, whereas when they haven't taken, I'll see if this is a bit more obvious. If they haven't taken, the roots just come out, the stick just comes out, and if they have taken, you'll feel the resistance. This is a flowering plum that I've got up at the gate, and I took 4 cuttings of that and only one of them has rooted, but that's okay. I only wanted one more tree, so I'm very excited that that has rooted at a beautiful pink flowering blossom, that I want another one on the other side of our gate, so that's very exciting. Currants are another one that will root really easily. I'm not sure if this is the red currant or the black currant, because unfortunately they're not labelled in my mother's garden, but that's alright, it'll be one or the other. And out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cuttings, 4 of them have taken and 2 of them haven't. So quite good odds with the old currants there. Raspberries are another one that will root really readily and very quickly. You can even see the roots are starting to bust out the bottom there. Same problem yesterday. It got too hot and those ones wilted. But these, I did have 6 from 6 with these raspberries, but I think I've lost that one. I'll just throw it away. But I'll pot these up. Some more currants. These ones have done really well as well. It looks like pretty much all of those have taken except for maybe this one. And roses, believe it or not, grow incredibly well from cuttings. So every single one of those rose cuttings took, and then this one has obviously had some kind of fungal issue that's taken over, but it did grow a couple of little roots down there, and it did grow some leaves, but it's been overwhelmed with a fungal issue, so we won't keep that stick. Throw it away. But the rest of these have all taken and are looking quite healthy. What else have I got? Oh, these are called Chilean Guava, also known as the New Zealand Cranberry. They grow really readily from cuttings, and as you can see they've got roots all busting out the bottom there searching for some nutrients, so I'm going to pot those all up. They'll be going into a hedge we've got in the food forest. And again, 6 from 6 in that one, and 6 from 6 in this one as well. 12 free plants. Rosemary, yet another one that does incredibly well from cuttings. I find this is the rambling rosemary that grows all over the ground, and it doesn't take nearly as easily as the upright rosemary. The upright rosemary, pretty much every cutting has taken with it. You can see it here. It's grown all this new growth. It's doing really, really well. These were taken on the same day. The rambling rosemary, the sprawling one, probably only half the cuttings took of it, whereas this rosemary I think only one didn't take. After these plants have been all potted up, I'm going to give them a really good water and leave them in the tunnel house for about a week, and then I'm going to start moving them outside. Our frost must be about due to finish by now, so I'm going to start moving them outside during the day, and just to harden them off, and then move them back in for the night time. And as we gradually increase the amount of time that they're outside, it will harden the plants off and allow them to get used to being outside, and then I'll have them out in the vegetable garden area. I have a wee space that I put all my newly potted plants just to get them better established, and once they're well established I'm going to put these out into my food forest. If you missed the video about propagating plants, I'll put a link to it up there or there somewhere. I'll put a link to it so that you can propagate some of your own plants for free too. These are all potted up. Now I've counted up probably about 100 free plants. This is the sheltered area out here that I keep the plants, just to harden off until they're ready to plant out. There's some bay tree that I did a cutting of last year, and there's another one there, another one. These ones over here are kakabeak. They're a native legume sort of plant that it fixes nitrogen, and this here is another one of those flowering plum trees from up at the gate that I got from a cutting last year. And over here I've got a whole lot more. Hundreds and hundreds of plants for free just by knowing what you're doing. And you can learn all that information on YouTube these days for free. I hope you found this video really useful. If you have, hit the like button, consider subscribing to our channel. We bring you videos twice a week on growing and preserving your own food and other homesteading bits and pieces. We'll see you in the next one.